that's the page.
Okay, this is the curriculum committee meeting, and we're going to start with public comment, but before we start, we'll read our public comment procedure. The Pembroke School Board welcomes public comment. According to policy 903, we remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. A speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note that these sessions are designated for comments. To protect the confidentiality and privacy rights of all members of our community, the board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals, such as students or district employees, privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrators or board members, or to communicate with the board and superintendent privately by sending an email to psdschoolboard@penridge.org. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. I think Mrs. Furlong, you're the only person signed up.
Sue Furlong, West Rockville Township, and I would like to speak about the class rank. I was at the meeting in June. There was a presenter who said we don't want to basically hurt the feelings of the students who don't make the top 10% because their classmates have been overly competitive. You probably could have hit me with a dart in the eye, and it wouldn't have hurt as much as hearing that we're going to worry about the kids who have not exerted themselves at the expense of the students who have. The other thing that was said, this was not in the presentation material, but it was spoken, that high school is not a place to start pressuring these kids about their accomplishments. We're here to teach them. Well, I think one of the things that you're going to start teaching, was it 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, is that life does have pressure. We don't treat them the same as if they were in elementary school. We don't treat the middle school children as if they were in elementary school. As they grow older, they get more responsibility. And they get more feedback that your decisions, your actions have consequences, good or bad, but they are your consequences, nobody else's. Don't have hurt feelings that somebody did better than you or worse than you. You created your own situation 9 times out of 10. And to take that away from our students, so that they go out into higher education with no preparation to feel any pressure to achieve, or to go into the military and not compete, or go into the workplace and not compete and feel that pressure, and we haven't allowed them to feel any of it because everybody's going to be lined up alphabetically, and we're just going to strip out as much as possible any recognition and acknowledgement for academic achievement at this district. I find it to be very disturbing, and I don't believe it serves our students. This is how you get snowflakes that are afraid to see something in chalk on the road, and all of a sudden they can't handle the rest of the day. Let them understand that life is not always a picture-perfect day, and that you will have pressure and you have to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment? The first item on the agenda is a computer applications program improvement proposal. Mr. Dyer. Did I miss this? Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking down one. It's the reading program. Practice.
Sorry.
You want to make sure you knew where the podium was.
Hi everybody, how are you? Stephanie Washam, and do you want Dr.
Thank you
Shire?
very much. No, I just wanted to introduce Mr. Sadowski to everybody this evening because Mr. Sadowski will be, well, nobody can replace Mrs. Watt.
I'm gonna try,
But Mr. Sadowski will be joining the curriculum office.
Everybody.
And we are very excited to have him here. He's very talented and he'll be a wonderful addition to the curriculum team.
Thanks.
So welcome.
Very much looking forward to it.
I've just been excited to be working with Matt as I transition out to have such a remarkable Penridge teacher move into this role is something that I was really excited and reassured with. So we will be moving forward, going over the proposal for elementary reading. I sent this, so I'll briefly go through some of the big tickets and buckets through here and then stop to see if there's any questions that you guys have for that. And just as what we did with writing, I'd love to also have board members get into classrooms to see how it's going. Matt and Dr. Shai would help schedule that and sort of set that connection up. And I've already been talking to teachers who are really excited about it. So the statement of needs, so the last 2 years, the Elementary Literacy Committee we formed has been really going through looking at what research shows great readers and writers, what practices show that produce great readers and writers, and then also what did we notice in our classrooms and what do we feel like is missing. So that's how we first started with writing last year, well, 2 years, well with the pilot and now this year with implementation. And then with the tremendous success that we had with writing and that we're continuing to have across the district, we were really looking at the reading component of this. So Making Meaning is a reading workshop curriculum, essentially taking students through comprehension strategies using a lot of mentor texts, so read-alouds for students and a lot of rich vocabulary work that really focuses on students applying these reading strategies and skills during their independent reading, and teachers spending a lot of time to know their students as readers through conferencing and discussion. As you can see with the program goals, it really has a gradual release model of having a strong mini lesson with them, typically with a mentor text and discussion, having students then work independently reading, and then coming back and closing out on what the objective is. With the social emotional skills, the one thing I really wanted to highlight in here is that it has the same kind of social emotional curriculum and routine built into Making Meaning like it does in being a writer. This means that it actually teaches explicitly collaborative structures, how to disagree with each other, how to agree, how to build on and add on, and also how to spend more time talking about what they're reading and writing with each other in a purposeful and meaningful way. And it's very explicit about that. And from observations and from teacher discussion, we've been seeing a tremendous positive impact on our classroom that the social emotional piece that they do teach in this structure, the students are using in other content areas as well, and teachers are hearing kids saying like, I'd love to add on to this. Well, I disagree because I read that this is stating. So I think that just those kinds of structures and having students be able to use their voice and discuss the text and strategy, it's been really fantastic to see. What else do we want to highlight? The method of evaluation of what we were doing is really looking at student achievement of seeing how they're applying their comprehension skills during their independent reading. A lot of that's through conferencing and also the writing about reading. We're also evaluating through teacher survey, as we did last time with being a writer, of seeing how they're feeling of comfort of teaching these comprehension strategies and vocabulary and how it's helped their professional development, and then looking at student work. If we go down to, if I'm right clicking, is it the right click? If we go down to looking at estimated costs in the materials, the breakdown for the 2 buildings, and we chose to really keep this at the 2 buildings instead of going across the whole district. So currently at West Rock Hill and Sellersville, we have pilot schools across grade teams. What our proposal is tonight is to expand that to the entire building and to have an additional year of professional development for teachers before expanding and implementing across the district. And what we're seeing with transition of myself, and then also really wanting to have teachers that would be able to be turnkey trainers and leaders for literacy, we wanted to take that time to really expand within our pilot buildings first before going to across the whole district and giving more time for PD and more time for collaboration amongst teachers. So when you look at estimated costs and breakdown, you'll notice that it's for 2 school implementations, and then there in lower elementary, there's a supplemental cost of guided reading sets. So this is to offset the need of additional guided reading books that we need in K1 and 2. And down for staff development, you'll see that the online development, just like it was for writing, is free, and then they have job-embedded lesson study and turnkey training, bless you, across the 2 schools in the fall and the spring. And then it also includes the PD for the entire district, so 2 days of sessions of PD for the whole district. Any questions about what we have proposed?
Mrs. Washington, can you just elaborate on the fact, or you just pointed out that we would have professional development for the whole district, although for
Yeah.
this, we are rolling it out with the 2 schools.
Yeah.
If you
So
just
what
wanna
they would
elaborate
do
on that.
is the lessons, the job embedded lesson study would be held at the 2 school locations, and then all of the reading specialists across the district would be participating in that. And then additionally, for the following spring of that year, you'll be able, the whole district will begin to get their training as we move into a larger implementation for it.
Real briefly, what are the 2 consultants doing for the 2 days?
So what they do is it's a job embedded piece, so they actually unpack the professional development. They'll go through and say, this is what units look like, this is how you can unpack and plan as a teacher. Do you want to go through it?
No, you're
Okay,
I mean,
so they'll go through it and then they actually teach the lesson in a teacher's classroom, and then they debrief that lesson and talk about what did you notice in their teaching and their instruction. They also ask to see where do you think students might struggle during this lesson? Where do you, as a teacher, do you struggle with teaching this lesson? And then they get to highlight what they saw and what they're taking away, and then as a teacher, what they can apply in their classroom. So we do it in grade level bands, so kindergarten and 1st grade teachers work together, 2nd and 3rd grade, 4th and 5th grade, so then they actually get to see someone teaching that lesson that's relevant to them in a Penridge classroom.
and just to jump on with that, one of the great things about this waiting another year until you propose it to the whole district, and one of the great things is that we're gonna have the opportunity to have some teachers that are doing it now become turnkey teachers, so they're gonna be able to go ahead and then help with professional development through the district. So that's something that the trainers would be doing when they're in the buildings as well.
Which 2 grade levels are currently teaching it?
There's 2 buildings and they vary by grade level for what they work with. So in West Rock Hill, kindergarten, 2nd grade, and 4th grade have pilot classrooms. At Sellersville, it's 1st grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade. So we rotate back and forth.
Do you know, since the plan is to roll this out to the rest of the elementary schools next year, would there be a cost savings to purchasing the materials this year all in bulk, as opposed to splitting it up and purchasing part of it now, part of it next year?
I can ask them about that. It doesn't seem like it's a case because it's a literacy nonprofit that produces curriculum resources, so they are not as able to give the kind of discount things that big publishers do that I've noticed. So I've gone back and forth with them about that, but I can inquire about that and get back to you.
And I just want to say too, I'm really excited about this. I think it goes very well with the writing program that you've already rolled out, and so I'm really excited to see the impact this has on students.
Thank you.
I have 2 things that Dr. Young, would you? I have, yes, okay, go ahead then. First of all, I think the making meaning is a classic edu jargon kind of phrase. It really makes no sense to me as a title for this. Not sure why you would choose that, other than to make it a tongue twister for people. Second question is, how does this impact Reading Street? I know when we implemented the writing program, it was because that was a deficiency with the Reading Street program that we saw. this sounds like it's almost a replacement for the Reading Street, is that the case?
Yeah, that is the case.
So we're phasing it out completely?
Yeah,
eventually.
and Reading Street, the 2011 edition that we have is actually, they're sundowning all of their digital components at the end of this school year because they don't produce it anymore. So a lot of the resources that we had access to that teachers enjoyed about that are no longer available to publishers.
And we're not gonna have access to, be able to collect the data that we used to, because we're not gonna be online piece. That's something else that.
And then, what is your estimate for the projected cost for next year?
For next year is right here. So, are you talking about the
Yes,
following school
when we
year?
roll it out for the
The
entire.
year after this,
Yeah.
these numbers we see in front of us, the others we do not.
I can get those together for you. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I will. I can send that to you guys.
Yeah, so send it to all.
Yes, I'll send it out.
You go first.
Mrs. Washington, two things. First of all, can you just give a brief overview of what we mean by balanced literacy, since it really will be the focus of K through 5?
Yeah.
Make sure the board members fully understand that.
Sure, jump in. Alright, so balanced literacy, if you look at, just jump in at any time, or if I'm leaving anything out. So when you talk about a balanced literacy program, you're looking at the 5 components. Phonics, meaning awareness, comprehension, writing, and you wanna make sure that you're not teaching them in isolation. You wanna make sure that you're using them in a meaningful way. And one thing that we found with Reading Street at times is that it's very isolated. We're not really connecting and putting the pieces into place to make meaning. That's really why it was called that. So these separate programs, being a writer, being a reader, they mesh so well together. You really can look at the different pieces of balanced literacy and
And essentially what we're looking to do is to have students being able to have, working through the strategies that they've been taught and being able to apply it and read more books as well. So the upside of this approach is that we have students really working with texts that are interesting to them, texts that are on their level, and then also building their stamina not only as writers but also as readers. And that's a major component of this, is really fostering that love of reading and getting them to have a higher volume of reading as well, which will help support with their vocabulary.
And if I can just add one other thing, so in terms of balance and the old reading wars, whether it should have been all phonics and then it was all whole language, and now we know that it needs to be a balance of those, and that we provide instructions, especially for our young learners, on how to read and decoding and encoding, phonological awareness and processing. All students need that to learn how to read. We want to ensure that that is in place, but we never forget the comprehension, because it is about knowing and understanding and making meaning. So the combination of these programs, in addition to word study, really do balance out our literacy program. And I will tell you, this is something that means more to me than probably any of the other proposals that we've had out there, because nothing is more important than ensuring that our students are literate citizens in this country. So we are really at the point where we can say that we will have a balanced literacy program for our elementary students.
The other thing I really like about this, and you touched on this when you were rolling out the writing curriculum, is, our writing and our reading were being taught in isolation. And this helps to bring the two of those together, and that's how kids learn the best, because they're being read a read aloud story, they're learning the different strategies that they have to then apply into their writing. And by bringing the two of those together the way that this does, it really helps the kids understand it, because they're reading it and they're learning to write it the way that they're reading it. And so I think bringing those two things together is great. And I can tell you, from having kids that have gone through in both programs, I mean, the passion the kids have now for writing and reading, it's all of them. It's across the board. It's not like, really, when you go into those classrooms, and the teachers too, the teachers see it, and they can't speak highly enough of what this is doing for the kids.
that's great.
And Dr. Scheid, from a budgeting standpoint, this is budgeted through program improvement. This is money that will be
Yes, this is,
allocated. Okay, I I just wanted to say that out loud. Thank you.
But only for,
I'd like to know that we budgeted for it.
Or just, throwing it out there.
only the,
Alright, thank you guys.
but that's, wait, sorry.
Oh, sorry,
No,
no.
you're fine.
What's budgeted is only
For the
this.
two
These
schools.
two.
Okay, for these
We
two
will
schools.
provide the entire board with the cost for the other 5 schools come next year, so you'll see the total package that I get.
I was just, you said that the program was successful. How did you measure the success of it?
Right now, we're measuring it through what we're seeing in classrooms anecdotally, because it is earlier in the school year for it. We're also seeing teacher comfort of how they're teaching, the strategies and the application and transfer of that, and that students are able to then take that book that they're reading and be able to use their comprehension strategies to be able to answer questions about them, whereas otherwise they weren't able to have that transfer past like their weekly test.
And were there, I remember talking with teachers, I guess it must have been 2 years ago at Camp America when my oldest was in fifth, or youngest was in 5th grade. And they were talking about, they were getting excited about a new program that was going to allow them to bring in different materials. Is this the one that they were hoping for? Did you have
Are they,
feedback from them?
I'm not
I guess
exactly-
because they thought that the reading street limited them to everybody had to use the same
Yeah.
books and that sort of
yeah,
thing.
they do have mentor texts that they allow, but there also are extension activities with other books that they can pull in that teach the same skill with it. But they do have a set thing that's standard across that they can teach with. But the students are pulling in their own books that interest them, that are on their level to read and apply the strategies with.
And just hooray for the return of phonics. Return of phonics, because that
We
was.
got your back.
That was something, they got a
No,
bad
we
rap,
do.
but
We
they
do
do
need it.
need it all,
They
so.
need it all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Mrs. Washington, before you sit down, I want to take an opportunity to thank you and to wish you well. For those of you to remind the board and for those members of the public who may not know, just after Thanksgiving, Mrs. Washington is transitioning to the Chamonix. She's going to be an elementary principal at Furterbar. I've been practicing. And so we are really going to miss you, but we are thrilled for the opportunity. And the Chamonix is really, really fortunate. We have been really blessed with your passion for literacy, your passion for professional development and working directly with teachers, your passion for our ELD families, probably not your passion for federal programming. We'll leave that one out, although it's a job you did very well from that standpoint. So we just want to thank you for all the work that you've done in Penridge and wish you well.
Thank you guys, it's been an honor.
Now it's the computer application.
Oh, here.
Good evening. My name is Chris Dyer. I'm a high school teacher here in the business department. And the proposal in front of you is for the technology specialist Microsoft Office certification class. It is a improvement on our computer application class that we've had here for a number of years. And we, in the business department, felt we needed to modernize and revamp the course so it's relevant to our students. The stated in the need of study, or the need for the justification, was the 21st century skills that our students are learning. We needed to improve that in our current class of computer application. So we're moving towards a Microsoft Office certification class. We're removing from the old class the keyboarding components that they now get, excuse me, in middle school as well as even elementary school sometimes. So we're removing that component. We're also removing the internet component where we used to teach kids back in 2007 how to surf the internet, how to research on the internet. Now Dr. Google takes care of all that. So those components of that course will be removed from the curriculum. We're going to embed and have a more focused, driven attention to the Microsoft Office products. The end result is students will be able to sit for their MOS certification at the end of this course. Now, the MOS certification, if you're not familiar, it's a Microsoft specialist. It's their entry-level specialist certification that they do offer. So it allows students to graduate high school and have the potential to have a certification on their resume that makes them more employable, gives them access to potentially other job offers that they may not have had without. So we feel that the students would benefit from this certification opportunity in the long run. So the problem with the existing course set with not only the keyboarding and the internet components, the other problem is we taught 4 of the basic Microsoft products in one class. So we taught Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, as well as Access, all under the same umbrella. So that allows us to treetop a lot of the material, but we're really going to get into the nuances of each type of product. So the certification class, Microsoft has set it up that you can take a certification exam in either one. You can take it just in Word, you can take it just in Excel, or all 4. So the class we're proposing would probably run with Microsoft Word and PowerPoint as the focus. It would be a completely immersed program where they're using the software very extensively as opposed to just getting of the software. So that's certification on the part 2 there where it says the MLS cert for Word and PowerPoint is our perception of what the class will look like going forward with the focus on there. We also have computer applications 2, for lack of a better word, that we would probably incorporate Excel and Access in. And so there would be 2 different classes, but right now we're just doing the one with Word and PowerPoint, seeing what the interest level is, and if we can get those students an opportunity to get that certification. The cost, because the class is already existing, there's no textbooks that we need to purchase. The only thing would be a site licenses or seat licenses from Test Out, and the information was on the proposal with the website. Test Out is the certification organization for Microsoft. Microsoft itself does not do the actual certification testing, so they use several different organizations to do the certification for them. Test Out's the one that we reviewed and we're very impressed with. They have video labs that students can review. They have 109 or 112 different practice exams they can do prior to their certification class or certification test. So in conjunction with the in-class instruction from the teacher. So the licenses range from 20 to 25, depending on how many you purchase. If you get over 25 licenses, then you start to get a discount.